yeah, kind of a highlight of the event. Speaker is Jack Madrid, the president and CEO of IBPAP, otherwise known as the IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines, the nation's representative of the BPO shared services sector. Jack has a background that is, he's done work across Southeast Asia and Canada and started businesses, worked for businesses, MTV, Dell, all kinds of diverse organizations. And so it is a really good thing, I think, to have him now running IBPAP. So I can hardly wait to hear and see all that's going to happen over the next few years with Jack running things. So please welcome Jack Madrid of IBPAP, the CEO. Glad to have you, Jack.
Thank you very much, Richard, for the kind introduction. I am pleased to be speaking about the road ahead for the IT BPM industry in the Philippines. But before I do that, let's get some context into what happened in the past 2 years, which was really how the industry showed how it could overcome adversity and demonstrate its resilience. Since the pandemic began 2 years ago, our sector faced unprecedented disruption that not only exposed vulnerabilities in our business continuity plans, but also changed client needs and demands. It had modified our prevailing work models, and it further accelerated the pace of digital transformation. However, despite these hurdles, the industry continued to demonstrate unrelenting agility, leadership, and resilience. Despite the global recession, the sector grew by 1.8% in 2020, adding 23,000 new jobs to the industry. We ended the year with a headcount of 1.32 million, and our revenues also increased 1.4% to almost 27 billion. Looking at the global picture, let's see what happened in 2021. A study by our research partner, the Everest Group, demonstrated that our sector grew about 8% in terms of headcount and anywhere from 8 to 13% in terms of revenue. This is because of a few things. The first one is a soaring appetite for outsourcing through the use of nearshore and offshore centers. There's also been a trend towards higher value services, and this has caused a talent supply and demand gap that has enabled providers to command premiums. Additionally, this higher demand for global services started in the fourth quarter of 2020, and the accelerated IT modernization and business transformation plans of enterprises that had digital-first business models. There were other growth drivers. This included a more positive enterprise sentiment, a very fast pace of vaccine rollout, fiscal stimulus across multiple geographies, and of course, the ongoing need for cost optimization. With this trend, though, we have identified several opportunity areas. This include IT-oriented and complex services. I'm talking about cloud and data center, finance and accounting, and IT applications maintenance, and some emerging BPM subsegments, including insurance and health, BPO, and HR outsourcing. Let's take a look at the local picture. What happened in the Philippines in 2021? The country's GDP climbed 5.6%, a significant improvement from the year before. We also saw that as the global growth trend that I talked about earlier, our sector in the Philippines will follow a very similar trajectory and will grow also by 8% in terms of headcount and as high as 12% in terms of revenue. A key factor that's helped our portfolio of services has been in the creatives, the healthcare, and IT. So clearly, there is a shift to more digital and more complex work. We are also seeing our sector continue to create jobs for more Filipinos. In January through to October 2021, there were 80,000 job openings. That's 30% higher than the full year of 2020. And on the real estate front, we are the biggest user of property space, eating up 254,000 square meters. And this is not just in Metro Manila and the core cities, but this is a countrywide development, including Davao, Iloilo, Laguna, Pampanga, and of course, Clark. So other real estate companies are equally optimistic about how the industry will continue to drive office space in the coming year. Now, all of this sounds very optimistic and positive, but these accomplishments could not have been achieved without our support with our partners in government. I am talking about PEZA, I'm talking about the Department of Trade, the Board of Investments, Department of Labor, DICT, NEDA, and last but not least, the IATF. The IT BPM sector has been identified as an essential industry very early on and received concessions that allowed us to mobilize both cargo and personnel. Now, as the enabling organization of IT BPM in the Philippines, my association continues to have extensive discussions with different policymakers to make sure our voice is heard. And this include, first and foremost, the extension of work from home arrangements. We are in an ongoing dialogue to give us a longer runway for a smooth transition towards what we hope will be a hybrid work environment. So, sustaining our industry's collaborative efforts with the government will remain critical to ensure that public policies are put in place to create a safe and supportive business environment. This will include dialogues on how the hybrid work model can be executed for the long term. There is absolutely no question that our sector can achieve greater heights as a pillar of the Philippine economy through a stronger partnership with government. Let's now talk about the trends for 2022 and beyond. All the experts I've spoken to are equally bullish about growth. They are seeing clients continuing to increase their leverage of nearshore and offshore locations for growth this year. This is on account of several trends. First one is digital. The second one is talent. The third one is a change in operating and working models. Now, we will need to take advantage of these trends to grow our industry, but this does not come without some challenges. And the challenges are the following. Talent misalignment. There is a gap between talent demand and supply. We've all heard about the great resignation. People want to shift, but an industry attrition continues to be high, putting pressure on salaries. But moving forward, we are at a very critical point in our history where the Philippines is poised to supply as much talent as possible to fill in the demand that we expect to keep coming in the years ahead. So in summary, I think this year is going to be very exciting. We will publish the Roadmap 2028, serving as the blueprint for our industry, outlining our priorities in digitization, talent policy shaping, infrastructure, and country branding. We will look forward to working with the government, the next administration, to forge ahead for a very bright future and chapter for the Philippine IT BPM industry. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Jack. And maybe, Jack, can I ask you a couple questions? I mean, I've been hearing that some people, are saying that, well, the BPO shared services industry is at risk because their jobs are going to be automated and these kinds of things. Is there any truth to any of that? I thought it should be expanding for the future, Jack.
The Philippines has, thanks to the hard work of the 1.4 million Filipino employees in the industry, is firmly on the world map for our sector, joining India. And I think we have shown our versatility across multiple talent skills. I am not worried about this talk of, AI and automation replacing us. The Filipino talent is world famous. And I think, despite the fast pace of technology, I think the human touch, listening and communication, and empathy is very much and will continue to be valued by customers all over the world. So not too worried about that. In fact, data suggests that this demand for global services will only grow in the years ahead.
Yeah, especially as we move up the market, so to speak, Jack. The future really does look exciting. Jack, on this hybrid work environment thing, I mean, you know, a lot of people who are, especially you could say women with children, say, but many people don't want to go back to the 3 or 4 hour commute every day and would rather continue working from home. Is that going to be encouraged by, I assume it's encouraged by the industry, but will the government go along with this? I know there's some talk about PESA requirements and so forth, but what are you hearing on that, Jack?
We are in the midst of figuring this out.
Okay.
It is a major issue.
All right.
After 2 years of working from home, everyone, you know, has their own optimal balance of what they think it should be. Now, so do employers, so do customers of those employers.
Yes.
So everyone will have their number. There is no magic number here, but it is clear to me that we are not going back 100% on site. I think we got to find that balance, and we need enlightened legislation from the government to help shape that future, because the future work is already here. It's happening.
Absolutely. Okay, Jack. And now on the real estate side, you said, you are certainly correct, BPO shared services really is the biggest user of office space. Now, there was some pressure from the POGOs, which people listening might know as the Philippine Online Gambling or maybe I think gaming organizations. But are they coming back, do you think, or what are people hearing about that? And is that going to have any pressure on it?
Well, you know, that's a separate industry from ours, but from our vantage point, you know, they used to be a very big user of space. There is no evidence that they will be coming back in full force, but I would expect that, I mean, there are remaining players that are here. And I expect that, you know, given the supply of talent, given the fact that everyone wants to be in the Philippines, that can only grow, and you know, will continue to use up some leased space. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see, Jack. But it really does look good. I think with everybody now comfortable with people working at home, or at least not from an office. What's the difference between having someone work in in Philippines as opposed to suburban New York or something like that? So, Jack, it really seems like you're in the right spot, and you're going to be in a golden era for the next few years for Philippines. Are you as melodramatic as that, or is that just me?
No, I am optimistic, and I think, you know, there's a very bright future for our industry. Some things need to be put in place, but I think the foundation is there. We have begun dialogue with all the presidential candidates to update them on the state of the industry and what we need to create more jobs for Filipinos. And we were heard loud and clear. And I was very happy with the reception we got.
Excellent. Gee, that is so good, Jack. Well, Jack, we wish you well. We're so glad to see you, you know, a guy like you, and you in particular, in this role, because it really is key. This industry could really lead the nation ahead for the next 10 years, I would say. I mean, you could have 2 or 3 million people employed. The whole world is going to beat a path to Filipinos. So, Jack, thank you again. Really love to hear about what you're doing, and so glad to keep up the great work.
Thank you, Richard, and thanks for having me.